Yo, bro, this is Insidious Purple, and we are back recording some Mass Effect Andromeda, this time with the Salarian Architect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you guys specifically how I play this guy, and he's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, okay, because he is pretty flimsy, and there's a very particular way you want to play him in order for him to be good, but I'm going to show you the way I play him and he is pretty good. He can get out in the front lines and he can do some damage. So I've been playing with this guy quite a bit, trying different things, and I found something that works. Now, not to say that this is the way to play him, but remember, there's multiple ways to play characters. This is just one way that I found that is effective for this guy in particular. So we're going to go ahead and get into it and start off with the loadout for the showcase. So I'm just going to go through the weapon that I chose. And I'm doing this because it's very particular for the weapon, because the weapon's important for the build. Okay, so the Scorpion is a very important weapon for this character. You can use other weapons, but if you want him to be as good as you're going to see in this gameplay, I would use the Scorpion because this weapon works most effectively with the strategy that I use. Okay, so basically you're going to set up your barricade and you're going to be shooting past your barricade. Okay, and you're going to be setting up bombs in front of you, and you're going to stun some of the enemies, like unarmored, unshielded enemies. You're stunned with all the explosions. So it's really pretty good. And another thing is I have the Scope X right here. It's just there to make it easier for me to shoot enemies at further distances, so I can operate close range and at far range as well. Thermal clip is just to increase the amount of ammunition that I have per clip, basically. Okay, and as usual, I don't use boosters at all in my showcases, and I do that particularly because when I show you a build that works, that is good, all you have to do is add boosters to it to enhance it, so you guys can literally play around with that. Finally, let's go into the skills. I actually put points in the Remnant VI. It's not too bad if you set it up a particular way. It is still, I gotta warn you, it is still random as hell. You can't control the VI. It flies around. It'll eventually probably come back to you, because in the patch they recently put out, they made it so that the Remnant VI will teleport to you. If the way they worded it was, if its path becomes too complicated, it'll teleport back to you. But once you target it towards an enemy, it'll kill the enemy and then it'll run off and do whatever it wants to do, basically. So I'll show you how I built it in particular. Getting off to rank 4, I go for recharge speed, I do not go for health, okay? And I go for beam damage. I do this because I want it to die as quickly as possible. That way I can get it back as quickly as possible. See, recharge speed. And once I do that, I can run up, set up another barricade, and then what I'll do is I'll set this guy out, and while I'm shooting the enemies with the Scorpion and using those Scorpion sticky bombs, this thing will be shooting a beam at the enemies. And look at this, I use the electricity, I don't use the missile. And I see that they increased the damage on the missile, because it used to be the missile damage used to only be 90, which was absolutely ridiculous. It was so weak and not even worth it. But I would recommend. I have a friend that told me that this is actually pretty good now, and if you can control it, then you could actually get off some good fire explosions. But that's just the thing. The Remnant VI isn't really controllable. So I just think that I think I just prefer the idea of the electric beam, and that is increasing the efficiency of its standard attack, which it shoots out a beam plus an electric. It's basically an electrified beam, basically. So randomly, sometimes it'll stun the enemies, and surprisingly, it can become helpful, especially when you have a Krogan in your face, and it stuns them for you. Speaking of stunning, I also have the electricity on the barricade here, so that's also important as well. So with this, the power cell, I go with basically what I do is I run up to a group of enemies, I set up the barricade, and then I shoot them past the barricade. You can do this with the human sentinel as well. Um, Basically, the thing that makes it special for him is the remnant VI. I mean, you can shoot them while the remnant VI attacks them as well. Especially when you first set him out there, and the enemy's right there in front of you, he'll immediately start attacking that enemy. So you can really rack up some damage. Incinerate. This is the thing that got sacrificed. I don't think it's really all that necessary for this character. Is mainly you would want to use this for detonating explosions or setting up fire explosions. You can still set up fire explosions, you just can't detonate anything. And he really doesn't need to detonate anything because he can't really set up anything on his own. He has to use the remnant VI. Offensive tech. I opted out of elemental defense and I went for power damage, and that's basically for the barricade to do more damage, the electric field on the barricade. And I also went to power damage bonus to shields. So that's basically for the remnant VI electric beam to kind of affect shields a little bit more. I guess I could opt out of this. Unless you want unless you go for incinerate, you can get a little bit more damage out of your incinerate, but I really don't see it being worth it. Finally, this is just basic right here. I went for power effect duration. That's for my stun. You know, this is pretty. I kind of feel like this might be pretty important right here. Okay, so power effect duration, 30%. Okay, so that right there means that your stun from your remnant VI and your barricade will get a 30% increase. And that means you just get to shoot the enemy a little bit more before he gets back in your face. Alright, so every 10 seconds causes your shields to recharge. Alright, so that's just while you're sitting behind the barricade, every once in a while you throw out an incinerate and then your shields start to come back. So it gives you more survivability. Alright, so that's the way I have them built up. Now I'm going to display, I'm basically going to demonstrate to you guys how I actually play this character. So I'll see you in the gameplay. Alright?
Alright, so here we are in the gameplay for the Salarian Architect. And I gotta say, I really do like this guy, but before I get into how I play him, I'm going to go real quickly over the 1.06 update. Now I know that the 1.07 update recently came out, but you know, I don't really know what they did with that one, to be quite honest. But more importantly, I feel it's important that I talk about the 1.06 update, since I haven't really expressed anything on it. And it's been a while since I released a video regardless. So here's the thing, alright. I think it did a lot of great things. First of all, it increased the damage of a lot of weapons, like all the pistols, assault rifles, and some of the sniper rifles, particularly the Shadow Sniper Rifle. It's actually really good now. The Shadow Sniper Rifle is really amazing now. A friend of mine was using it, and he was telling me all about it, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to try using the Shadow Sniper Rifle, and it is actually amazing. And also the Assault Rifle, the Paw, is really good as well. But they did nerf the Vanquisher a little bit. That's alright though, because it's still a really good weapon. Alright, it still does good damage. It just does less damage than the Black Widow. But which is pretty good. You know, I mean, the Black Widow is a ultra rare. It should have more damage even at lower levels. But that's basically what it did. I think if you maxed out the Black Widow, it would have more damage than the Vanquisher before the update. But now at a lower level, it actually has more damage than the Vanquisher. So, I mean, it works out. So the Black Widow is hands down the highest damaging 3-round sniper rifle in the game right now. So it's better if you want to do a lot of damage. Okay. But besides that, one of the updates that helped this guy out was the update for the damage to the Remnant VI, and it also buffed a lot of the powers, and the recharge speeds were reduced on a lot of the powers as well, which is absolutely excellent and well overdue. I was afraid that the powers would not be as powerful. And one last thing, they also buffed the combo explosions as well. So the combo explosions are really amazing though. So now with all of those buffs in, this game is, the pacing of this game is really starting to step up. People are trying out different weapons, different powers, different builds are more viable now. It's not just the Angara melee builds. As a matter of fact, melee is a lot less viable now because they nerfed it. They actually nerfed melee damage, which is fine. You shouldn't really be. This is a game that I don't feel like you shouldn't really be running around trying to melee things as your primary source of fighting. Melee should just be for close encounters when enemies get too close to you. But continue on with this build. The Remnant VI, when his path becomes too complicated, this is how they worded it. The VI will teleport to you. So that means the Remnant VI, if it's just wandering around all over the place and you're having a hard time tracking it, it will teleport back to your location. So that's really good for builds where you have the Remnant VI with high HP and you're trying to target certain enemies. If you press the L1 button again, you can target a certain enemy, but the Remnant VI would be nowhere around, or it would just be like stuck in a corner or something like that, and it'll just be off in the wayside. So now it'll teleport and reset basically. So that's really good. Another thing that helped this guy was the buff and damage for its missile upgrade. So originally it had a missile upgrade, was it only did 90 damage, and that's like nothing, literally. But you could detonate explosions with it, but you can't really control where it was shooting at, and it was every 10 seconds that it would shoot it. Looking at it before, I didn't think it was worth it. I still prefer the alternative, which is the electric beam, the electro beam, where you shoot the beam and it has a chance to stun the enemies. So I thought that was a lot better of an option, just to improve the beam, basically his basic firing method. So right now the missile actually does 450 damage, and that's not too bad, but at the same time it's not really all that great. That's about the same as if you fully upgraded Lance. Lance you could probably get up to like 500 to 400 400 to 500, I'm sorry, damage out of the Lance. So, you know, it's decent, but it's not really all that impressive, especially since he only fires it every 5 seconds. That's the second thing that they did with it. They decreased the time frequency that it fires the missile from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. So all of those buffs really does help this guy out, and also the buff to a lot of the weapons, especially the Scorpion right here. Scorpion is absolutely amazing. It's really important for this build. I'm going to go over that when I start talking about this guy in a little bit, when I start talking about the actual build that I'm using. Then I'll go into that. But yeah, so a lot of the weapons have been buffed. They basically patched the glitch for the ammo glitch. So basically that's been patched completely. So no longer can you put 2 different types of ammo on. You won't be able to do that anymore. I mean, it was a great glitch. It made weapons like the Equalizer really good. And my friend was telling me, well, you know, I don't think the Equalizer is all that great anymore. It used to be amazing, but now it's not all that great. And that's because you can't really use the ammo glitch with it. And second, there's a lot of other weapons that were buffed, and there's just a lot more options. You know, there's other weapons that are just better to use rather than using the just using the Equalizer, the Talon. You know, options have been opened up. You know, the Talon is still a great pistol, and there's still a lot of great weapons in the game as well. Most of the weapons that were great before the patch are still great after the patch. It's just you have more options now. People are trying different builds, using different weapons, you know, and with that, people are having a lot more fun with the game now. So I think that this patch overall really helped to improve the game, and really for a lot of people helped to basically save the game, because a lot of people were thinking about just, you know, this game's fucked up, you know, the weapons suck, the powers suck, it's really boring just doing melee builds, then having to play the Angara, you know, that's the only way to really get any really good kills, you know, to get out there and really have fun with the Angara Avenger and using the Vanquisher and the ammo glitch, you know, and it was just a bad situation, you know. But now they have improved the weapons and the powers. Now people have more options. You can see people doing more things, using different weapons, using different builds, and really having fun with the game. Now, in my opinion, all they need to do is really like do what they did with Mass Effect 3 and come out with a DLC package for the next multiplayer maps. You know, come out with 2 or 3 maps. Matter of fact, come out with 3 or 4 maps. Come out with 5 or 6 new characters, and at least like 4 or 5 new weapons, you know, and release it in a package, you know, and really get people hyped up. I think that's one of the reasons why Mass Effect 3 survived for so long, is people were anticipating and wanting to see the next DLC. The way they did the DLC, they would just hype you up for it. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. That's what I think about the 1.06 update. Honestly, overall, it's a very good update. It's a very necessary update in order to save the game. And that's basically all I have to say about the 1.06 update. Now, getting more specifically into this build video, that's getting more into the showcase, and showing you and telling you how I prefer to use this character. Okay, so as you guys been seeing recently, I use Barricade a lot with this character, and that's because it's the most important power for this character. Okay, so with that, there are 2 main things I like to do with it. I have it upgraded for the electricity, so what I'll do is I'll run up and I'll basically set up the barricade where I know enemies are going to gather, and then I'll drop the barricade there. That's where I'll drop the barricade, and then a lot of enemies will group up in that area right next to it, and then they'll get electrocuted. They'll get primed for tech explosions, and anybody who's got detonation powers can detonate the tech explosions. That's another thing you could probably do with this character if you really wanted to, a barricade and incinerate tech explosion build. I just don't think it'll be all that great. Tech explosions don't usually do that much. As far as I know, it didn't really do that much damage against health. It did very little to no damage against health. I don't know if that's improved, but before the patch, it did very little to no damage against health, even against raiders, even against the Audi. I think that's the name of those dogs over there. I don't want to butcher its name, but I think that's how you say it. Yeah, so I don't think that tech explosions might not be the best way to go with this guy, honestly. You can do that though I do think that would be something that could work if you just opt out of the Remnant BI, because let's be honest, it's really not that useful. I would run up to him, set up the barricade, and then shoot out the incinerate and detonate a tech explosion. But the way I play this character now is I will use the barricade, set up the electricity, and then I will shoot scorpion bombs at him. And then all of that damage will rack up, and then it'll kill most of the enemies, or at least do a lot of damage to them. So you run up, set up the barricade. I have him spec to do more damage when shooting from the barricade, and anytime my health is low, I just set up the barricade, you know, and then I can sit behind the barricade and get my health back. And that's the whole thing. This is basically like an entire barricade build, and it relies heavily on barricade. It's not like you can't play them without using the barricade, but if you want to be on the front lines, you know, you like to run up to enemies and get in their face, you definitely want to have the barricade. You probably see me go down a few times in this gameplay already, and that's because this character is really squishy. Unfortunately, you know, that's just the case. So that's just unfortunate. But the barricade, I think, was really meant to kind of help this character make up for that. And I think it does make him effective, especially more particularly against the outlaws. I mean, this strategy works very well against the outlaws. I've tried it against the Remnant, not so much. It's not as effective, especially because of the nullifiers. They shoot those beams right through your barricade, and even Krogan give you a hard time because the Krogan can literally shoot past your barricade with that flak cannon. So you might need to take additional precautions. You might need to hide behind a wall or something. And what you can do is you can just set up the barricade and kind of retreat back, you know, go back behind some other cover, let the enemies run into the barricade and get electrocuted and stunned. Throw out your Remnant VI so that the Remnant VI can shoot them with the electric beam, and the Remnant VI can actually possibly stun enemies with the electric beam. So that's actually a viable strategy right there. So you're doing damage with your scorpion bombs, the enemies are getting electrocuted against the barricade, the Remnant VI is shooting enemies and electrocuting them and doing some fairly decent damage. And basically you can go with the electric beam or you can go with the missile. I haven't tried the missile. I would think that the missile might be better now that they boosted the damage for it. So I would say, yeah, you could probably use the missile as well. I have the Remnant VI set up so that it doesn't have a lot of health. Alright, it dies very quickly. That's what I want, because when I run up and I set up my barricades, I want to have the Remnant VI available right then and there. That way it'll easily be right there next to me, and it'll be shooting its beam and attacking enemies right up front. You know, I don't want the Remnant VI to be wandering around, you know, everywhere shooting and killing things, because that's part of the strategy that I created mostly, is that when I run up to the group of enemies, I set up the barricade, I shoot scorpion bombs from behind the barricade, I send out my Remnant VI to shoot the beam, stun some enemies, the enemies get stunned by the barricade, and then I'm just going out and I'm in the positive basically. Now Incinerate is just basically an extra power, you know, that's my take on it. Now, yeah, right there I almost got grabbed, that's why the camera went all wacky on me. Now it's just an extra power. I didn't go for one of the level 6 evolutions as you saw in the preview. When I previewed the powers for it, I actually put 3 points. I actually put 3 points into the Salarian Architect's Incinerate, so I can get more recharge speed, I guess a little bit more damage, but that's not significant, you know. But that's pretty much it for the Salarian Architect. A really good character. Well, not that great of a character, but I had a lot of fun with him with this build though. But he's a tricky character to play though. So if you guys like this video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more from my channel, please subscribe, and more content will be coming to you. This has been Insidious Purple, and I am out. I'll see you guys again.